Okay, this is based on the teaching relationship versus connection. I think it's really important that we help our children to understand that there is a relationship of parent and child, father and daughter or a son, that's never going to change. So even in the event of father passing away or children going and moving on the other side of the world, that relationship stays the same. You only get one dad. Even if there's like a remarriage, it's stepdad, right? See, there's only one first mom and dad, biological mom and dad. It's impossible to have another biological mom and dad. Even in an adoption situation, there's still a mom and a dad, a biological mom and dad. And so, what I want to highlight with this teaching is sometimes children need to have like an awareness that there's a difference between relationship and connection. You know this in your marriage. You're married, so you're like that's like forever, right? So you have a covenant together, even though the connection ebbs and flows. And I think it's really important that children understand this because sometimes it's like, oh, that's just my dad. Yeah, it's your dad. And it's also important to honor your father. And it's important that children understand the quality of connection because it actually says honor their mother and father so that it goes well for you. And so we want to help them to understand that. So I love this teaching with the toilet paper, and you help them to get a visual of the difference between connection and or the relationship and connection. I think it's also important, and you can use the language like, hey, when I've asked you to do something and you don't, that that hurts our connection. Doesn't hurt our relationship. You're still always going to be my child. I love you. It doesn't affect my love for you, but affects the connection. Or my kids have done things over the years, and I've used the language, hey, like that really scared my heart. That really made my heart I feel very unsafe and uncomfortable when you went running around the block and I couldn't find where you were. And so you're helping them to see the quality of the connection is a two-way street and it matters. And the older they get, the more you're going to have to go after this with them so that they understand that relationship is not one to take advantage of. And with my four kids, I have they're all teenagers now, but I have three that are legal adults. And once they turn 18, especially in today's age, you're 18, you're out of here, um, 18 is not a magical number. And just because they're 18 does not mean that they are emotionally adults or they are fully ready to fly and be on their own. But what I want to say about that is after they're 18, your entire relationship is not based on the legal requirement or the law of what you have to do based on mom and dad. It's all about currency, the currency of honor. That is the only currency that you have with your children once they're 18. And it doesn't start when they're 18. So you've got to backpedal the years before that, and you have to help them to see, we're not just governing by the laws. We're not being just governed by, if I do this, I'm going to get in trouble with dad. We are motivated based on, I care about this connection, and I want to treat it very tenderly because it matters to me, and I want it to be a strong connection not just on the fumes of relationship. And again, translating that with marriage, you guys understand that. Just because you're married doesn't mean that that gives you a good quality connection. You have to fight for that connection. You have to die to yourself for that connection. You have to really go after that connection so that it is solid and so it's secure. And the same thing with children, if they need help understanding that. And then say it also too on the flip side, and you say things like, hey, when I asked you to do something and you said, yes, dad, that honors me. That really strengthens our connection. Or, but that really strengthens our connection when you're kind to your sister because I've asked you to go help her with her homework or something like that. So you're doing it on the flip side. And I just think that that's super, super important. The other thing is just to be really aware of how they're feeling in the connection. You can come to them after you do this teaching. You can come to them in the days ahead with a toilet paper roll. Come on, you're always going to have those. And you can come to them and you can say, hey, could you give me a word picture? Could you take this toilet paper roll and could you tell me how you're feeling about our connection? Are you feeling like our connection is really solid? Or are you feeling like there's been some chunks in it or some rips in it? Or when you blow it, when you have a bad day, when your flush comes out and you're walking out parts of your journey, because that's going to happen, you can go to them with a toilet paper roll or put a little note on their bed with it and say something like, I know when I did that. I know when I yelled, that kind of hurt our connection. And I just want to say I'm sorry. I just want to say I'm sorry. What can we do to go after this connection again? Such a great visual to go after connection with a toilet paper roll. I just think that's amazing. All right, be blessed by that, guys.